like, subscribe, go! Hey there, Skillet here. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you clicking on the video. Rhom is a radioactive wasteland, a world that has suffered greatly.
Oh God, what is that?
One of its residents who suffers the most is Scourge. Hold that thought. As usual, before we talk about the fight itself, let's go ahead and talk about a few things that may help you out if you know them going in. First of all, and this really won't help you during the fight, but I thought you'd like to see the character that I used during this video. As you can see, it's an ex-cultist archetype. I haven't really leveled a whole lot up, but I have leveled up the repeater pistol to +3, as well as the coach gun to +3. I've also leveled up the scrap hatchet to +2, but I don't really use that in the fight. I've also assigned a total of 10 trait points distributed as you see here. Vigor got 3, Endurance and Spirit each got 2, Mother's Blessing, Quick Hands, and Keeper's Blessing each got 1 trait point. By the time you get to Scourge, you almost certainly will have earned more than 10 trait points. You'll also have some cool weapon mods and can level up your weapons maybe a little more than I did. So your character will very likely be more powerful than the one you're seeing in this video. Next, Scourge lives at the end of the Iron Rift dungeon. His lair is called the Hive, but if you find yourself entering the Iron Rift, just know that the next thing you're going to face is Scourge. Here's the map of the Hive where you'll face Scourge, and there's definitely a few things worth pointing out here. This is the area in which you'll fight Scourge. You'll start here, Scourge will start right about here. Those kind of yellowy brown spots that you see, those are all hives. There's this main hive kind of in the middle of the arena, but then there are 3 smaller hives surrounding it, and these are very important as the fight progresses, so definitely be aware of where they are. Alright, we've looked at the character, when to expect to fight Scourge, and the arena in which you'll fight Scourge, so let's go on and fight Scourge! Radioactive bees have built their hive around Scourge's head, so when Scourge does things like this headbutt, which he does to adjacent enemies, it disturbs the bees, and you can see that little swarms will come out and chase you around. We'll talk about them a little bit more in just a minute. Scourge's adds are ghasts. If you're playing on normal difficulty, solo, they'll come in pairs. Remember that when you kill a ghast, it explodes and leaves behind a small cloud of radiation for a short time. Be careful. The explosion will damage you, and the radiation will, if you absorb enough of it, cut your stamina in half. Here's the second attack that Scourge will use if you get right up next to him. He jams his claw to the ground and it causes a radioactive explosion. Stay out of the way, or else you'll get squished and irradiated. This is Scourge's standard melee attack. He's got an unnaturally long reach, and he can swat you with that claw from quite a distance. But it's easy to dodge roll out of it, and he telegraphs it very clearly. You'll see him stretch out his claw first, but you'll also hear kind of a squishing sound as he does it. So even if you can't see him, you can hear him about to deliver that swat. Once you take Scourge's health down by about 1/3, then the bees start getting worried, and you'll see right here that they begin to attack. They swarm out of the hive that they've built around Scourge's head, but they also swarm out of those 4 hives that I told you about in the beginning. So you're going to have swarms coming at you potentially from like 5 different directions. Just be aware and be ready to get away. Again, if a swarm hits you, it's going to damage you, plus subject you to radiation. Now, the swarms are really easy to get away from. Two things to remember. First of all, they're slow, so you can outrun them pretty easily as long as you have the stamina to sprint. Second, they really don't take turns too well. They turn very slowly. That means if you can get around a corner, and notice those 4 structures in each corner of the main part of the arena. If you can get around a corner, or if you can double back into the swarms, it's very hard for them to turn to attack you, and they'll wind up just smashing into the ground. When the bees swarm like this, their epicenter is Scourge's head, and you'll notice that he becomes surrounded with this radioactive cloud that, by the way, is shaped like a skull, which is kind of cool. 2 things to note. 1, if you're caught in that cloud when it forms, you're probably going to die. It does a tremendous amount of damage. 2, you can't shoot through it. It basically is an impenetrable barrier for Scourge. Now, there's some exceptions to that, but generally speaking, you can't damage him while that cloud's around him. Your best bet is to run and simply avoid the bees. Here's a little tip that might help you out. Remember that anything that will damage you will damage anything else in the arena. So Scourge's swipes and the bees, they'll damage the ghasts, maybe even kill them for you. But also, when the ghasts explode, they'll damage Scourge. By keeping the ghasts between you and Scourge to the best of your ability, it's possible to get Scourge to damage them, maybe even kill them for you. But also, as they die, if they're close enough to Scourge, they'll do a little bit of damage to him for you. So if you play it right, you can get your enemies to do some of your work for you. Something else that might be helpful is bringing along some heavy water elixir to deal with any radiation effects that you end up with. One last note, kind of a philosophical note, I guess, is at the beginning of the fight, you hear Scourge say, "Please stop, it hurts." The bees cause him a lot of pain, a lot of misery, so you almost feel bad about killing him. But you know what? In the end, you got to progress with the adventure, and the pain drives him to madness, so of course he's not going to let you pass without killing you. Still, you can't help but feel a little bit sorry for the big ugly guy. But you know what? You're probably doing him a favor by killing him and ending his agony. But you also get some cool stuff for killing him. You'll get 550 experience points, a trait point, the radioactive skull material, and also the usual scrap and luminite crystal. Take that radioactive skull back to McCabe and she'll make you the Breath of the Desert weapon mod. There's your Zero Rage guide to defeating Scourge. Thanks again for watching, I really do appreciate it, and as always, GG's.